My name is Karina Parker. Over the past 2 weeks, I have been traveling back and forth to my hometown in Oxford, Michigan. For my final sales management project, I got the opportunity to interview three very experienced sales managers. I interviewed three sales managers from three different companies. Each sales manager has had over 3 years of experience running a sales team. Each sales manager had a sort of different management style, but each of them had the common goal of wanting to find ways to improve their sales. I asked each sales manager a total of 6 questions. Every survey contained a few different questions and a few of the same questions. The first person I interviewed was Mike Boquette from Trico Products. The second person I interviewed was Nina Howard from Route 21. And the third person I interviewed was Bill O'Donnell from Preston Consultants. This is Mike Boquette's sales survey. When I first met Mike, I could tell he was a very task-oriented type of person. Mike was kind enough to set aside a Skype interview with me despite having a very busy schedule. The first question I asked Mike was, "What are your biggest duties as a sales manager?" The second question I asked was, "What is your reporting style and your structure when it comes to organizing your sales team?" The third question I asked was, "What are a few of your go-to questions when you are hiring a salesman?" The fourth question I asked was, "Do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team?" The fifth question, "How do you develop sales forecasts for wiper blades?" And lastly, I asked him, "What do you like best about your job?" So Mike has been at Trico for a very long time, 15 years to be exact. Trico is a windshield company that produces wiper blades. Their wiper blades are used by almost every single car in the United States and internationally. He works with large companies like Walmart. They have a contract with them and they sell Trico wipers in every single store in the nation. Trico has been conducting contracts with almost every model that the Big Three have produced. The Big Three being Chrysler, Ford, and GM. The first question I asked Mr. Boquette was, "What are your biggest duties as a sales manager?" He responded, "One of my responsibilities is meeting my quarterly sales goals. I figure that out by keeping a constant track on how sales are doing from our aftermarket and from the Big Three. Now, with my sales team, there's a lot of communication that goes on between us. I make sure that we are all on the same page, and with that, we keep on improving our sales goals and bringing in new customers." Basically, from Mr. Boquette's response, I summarized his main duties into 3 separate groups. The first category is that he establishes a strong communication between himself and his team. I think that it's a very important part of being a good sales manager because you have to be on top of what sales are being made. That ties into the category team unity. From what I got from his response is that everyone on his team has the common goal of exceeding in their job. That includes doing a lot of research on their potential clients and establishing a strong relationship with them. Hiring people who go above and beyond their job allows Mike to achieve the next category, that is achieving company sales goals. Second question I asked Mike was, "How do you structure your sales team?" So like I said before, communication and being on the same page with each other is a big part. We usually work with companies like Walmart, for example. When we are working with a client of that big of scale, we usually sit down and make sales plans because getting someone like Walmart would increase our cash flow drastically. It's important to make sure that we get everything right and in order. With that, Mike mentioned sitting down with the sales team and developing a sales strategy plan. Mike deals with very large companies like Walmart. His sales team have to produce every detailed sales strategy in order to gain and keep their clients. Gaining a company like Walmart would be categorized as a large account. Question 3. What are a few of your go-to interview questions when you are hiring a salesman? He first told me the first question that he would ask was, how important is building customer relationships to you? Second, how do you handle objections or complaints? Third, if you were hired for this position, what would you do within the first month? These are just a few of my go-to questions. They explain a lot on how a person is. At Trico, it's essential to build and maintain relationships with our clients. The last question I just like to ask because to see if first they are quick on their feet and if they are a person who looks into the future, a man with a plan. Question 4, do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team? He said, here, everyone on my team is very focused because we all want the same thing. That's important because our common goal is money. We come to work ready to work. Don't get me wrong, once in a while we let our hair down and we'll go out to the bars after work or something like that. The biggest takeaway I got from the interview with Mike is to know when to let loose with your sales team. It's important they respect you, but to also build that line of trust between every single one of your sales team. Question 5. How do you develop sales forecasts for wiper blades? He answered, every quarter I sit down with heads of every department. That includes marketing, accounting, distribution, all those guys. We each play an important component in each department. We lay out the numbers on the table, and from there we figure out our targets for the upcoming quarter. It's a lot of projecting numbers and factoring in every variable. I personally think this question emphasizes what we have been learning in class throughout the whole year, and that is that sales isn't everything. Lastly, I asked Mike, what do you like best about your job? He said, I love the paychecks. No, but really, it's the relationships I've built with my sales staff and the clients. It's nice going to a job that I love to do. I like building the personal connections with clients and making sales. This is the end of Mr. Boquette's sales interview. The next sales manager I interviewed is named Nina Howard. This is Nina Howard's sales survey. The first question I asked her was, what are your biggest duties as a sales manager? Question 2, what is the biggest challenge you face being a sales manager? Question 3, what are a few of your go-to interview questions when you are hiring a salesman? Question 4, do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team? The fifth question I asked was, do you ever evaluate your employees' job performances? And question 6, what do you like best about your job? The first time I met Nina, she was very friendly, sociable, and approachable. I think that those are very important qualities to have, especially when you're working in retail like Nina. She has been a sales manager for about 3.5 years at Rue 21. Rue 21 is a clothing store that I really like to shop at, and thankfully, it's one of the 5 stores in the Midland Mall. The first question I asked Nina was, what are your duties as a sales manager? She responded, one of the main reasons why I chose this job is basically because I love interacting with people, and when I am hiring someone for the job, I usually look for someone who is the same way. Question 2, what is your biggest challenge you face being a sales manager? She responded, the biggest challenge that I face is just to remind myself to take a step back. You know, for you, sometimes your schoolwork or tests pile up, and it's the same with being a sales manager. I always have to remind myself that I have a team to motivate every day. The third question I asked Nina was, what are a few of your go-to interview questions when you are hiring a salesman? Nina said, since I work in retail, it's important I am friendly and that I can establish a quick connection with the customers. Every time I interview somebody, I tell them to grab one piece of item from the store that they like and one item that they don't like. After that is done, I tell them to pretend that I am the customer and they need to sell me both pieces of clothing. The fourth question I asked Nina was, do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team? She responded, we do a lot of fun games just to keep our group energy level high, but it also improves our knowledge and our memory. Before the store opens, sometimes we're all kind of groggy, and to boost our energy, we do a little scavenger hunt. We split into two groups, and I call out, like, where is the women's high rise jeans? Whoever raises their hand first will go where the item is. This game just helps us get our minds going and our energy going and makes us all familiar with where our items are located in the store. The next question I asked her was involving the evaluation criteria. In Nina's response, she mentions how she does an evaluation sheet. It can help her salesperson evaluate what their strengths and weaknesses are. The fifth question, do you ever evaluate your employees' job performances? She said, usually we have talks every 3 months just to see how they are doing and evaluate how they're doing on the floor. As a sales manager, it's important to observe everybody on your team. These meetings give me an insight on how they perceive how they are doing, and it gives me the opportunity to give a little advice and make them stronger. I usually have an evaluation sheet for each person. Everyone can improve on some aspect. Question 6. What do you like best about your job? Nina said it would definitely be the fact that I get to meet and interact with people every day. I definitely like the fact that I'm not behind a desk every day. Basically, I never get bored with my job, and I have a great sales team behind me. Those relationships with them I will never forget. They're all great people. So now I'm finished with Nina's sales survey. I got a lot of interesting sales techniques and managing skills from her. Now I'm going to move on to Bill. This is Bill O'Donnell's sales survey. The first question I asked him was, what motivational techniques do you use with your sales team? The second question I asked was, what is your biggest challenge you face being a sales manager? The third question, what leadership behaviors have helped you become a sales manager? Question 4, do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team? Question 5, do you evaluate your employees' job performances? And lastly, question 6, what do you like best about your job? So Bill has been in the sales game for about 30 years now. I have never seen somebody so passionate about B2B sales. Basically, B2B is going business to business, and it's basically like making cold calls but in person. The first question I asked him was, what motivational techniques do you use with your sales team? Bill said, I say the biggest motivational technique that I have used was to create a family environment. Everyone on my sales team has each other's back. Everyone works hard. And if someone has a question about, let's say, what if my customer says this? Those questions are never held back. Every day before we go out into our territories, we get into a circle and we say our goals. For example, one of my team members' goal is to earn enough to buy himself a new truck. This motivates them every morning and reminds them what they are working for. I asked each sales manager this exact same question. Both Nina and Bill had more fun games planned to get energies up for their sales team. Mike explained that each member of his team already comes to work ready to work. I don't know if it's just because it's more competitive or higher risks, but this just shows me that every company is different. The second question I asked was, what is the biggest challenge you face being a sales manager? Bill said, honestly, the biggest challenge for me is when I bring a new member to the team and having them get adjusted into our family. It's tricky establishing that trust with them and the whole group because they're new. They don't know the ropes yet. I want to ask questions and expand their sales knowledge. The third question I asked him was, what management skills have helped you become a sales manager? Bill said, I would have to say my ability to improve even the best people on the team, to be able to communicate a clear-cut goal to the entire team, but at the same time to keep open communication between all of them. Everything just goes under the category of being a good leader, and that's what it comes down to. I don't just tell them what to do, I give them advice, and I help them improve to get them where they want to be, and for most of them, that's to earn more money. Since they all want to earn more money, that means they're all driven to get more sales. The fourth question I asked was, do you have any training activities that you do with your sales team? He said, every morning we do a little activity just to get the hearts pumping and to lift the energy up. For example, we'll grab a partner and we'll just practice our pitches in front of each other. It doesn't hurt to keep re-saying them, and it helps the newcomers get their pitch down. Every Friday we will play Red Bull Flip Cup. That really gets our energy up, and it includes a team building aspect. The fifth question I asked was, do you ever evaluate your employees' job performances? Bill said, at the end of every day, either myself or some of the more senior members of the group will sit down with another member of the sales team and go over how their day went. They will discuss their numbers, such as how many doors they went up to, how many managers they spoke to, and how many sales they got. After that, they will be asked what they think they did right and what they can improve on. The sixth question I asked him was, what do you like best about the job? He replied, I love the relationships I've made with my sales team. Like I said, we became a family, and our family just keeps growing with each new member we add. Next week, I'm going to one of their weddings, and it's like I just get to watch every one of them take on new life milestones. That picture at the bottom is actually a picture of Bill. He's the second from the right, and some of the people that I used to work with over the summer. Overall, I learned so many things from interviewing these very experienced sales managers. The three main points I learned was to first figure out what motivates your team. Be organized. Keep everything in order, like your sales numbers and your goal. That leads me to my last point, have goals. Make sure your team strives for the goals with you. Throughout each sales survey, I asked each sales manager, what do you like best about your job? I noticed that each of them mentioned that they love the relationships that they've built with their sales team. I interviewed sales managers from 3 different companies. No matter what they love their sales team. Honestly, I was expecting to get other answers like it's close to my house or I just love managing my own sales team. No, they all pretty much said that they love the relationships that they've built throughout the years. Overall, this was a very insightful project for me to do. I learned a lot and I got out of my comfort zone. Thanks for watching me present today.